everyone. I'm Sylvia Scott, and I'm the founder and creative director for the Girls C.E.O. Connection. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Grace Elsner, a senior at Visitation Academy and in St. Louis, Missouri. And she began babysitting at age 10. Now she's grown it over the last 8 years. Now it's her real business, Grace Elsner Babysitting. And she's included being a nanny for people that are out of town, or they're not, sometimes they're out of town, but sometimes it's just when they need to do things around, and for pet owners, home care, I should say, for your pets when they're traveling. And she's created a service called Dine and Drop, which Grace is going to tell us about later, which is really exciting. And she is the Emerging Media Project Manager and the editor of the yearbook, social media director for the website, which she helped launch in 2017, and she's volunteer coordinator of the Viz Ambassador Program. Thank you for joining us today and taking time out from your extremely busy schedule. Okay, so when did you decide to turn this into a full-fledged business?
The idea to create, a full-fledged business that has finances and all that kind of stuff that we would track regularly kind of happened on accident. The home that I used to live in was in a small neighborhood that consisted of 20 houses, but shockingly had 30 kids in it. So I was always babysitting for the younger kids on the street, me being the oldest of all of the kids. And it just so happened that, I was working every weekend, or I was working 3 or 4 times a week in the summer, a little bit less in the school year, but still working very actively. I realized other girls were beginning like lifeguarding jobs or maybe baggers at a grocery store. I realized that with the amount of revenue that I was bringing in, this could really just be my job for the rest of middle school and high school. So I really amped up my amount of marketing and advertising to other places outside of my neighborhood. So I began advertising at my country club. I began advertising at my school, since our school is Montessori through 12th grade.
Okay.
And I really just tried to, provide that outreach and make those connections really early on so that I could be babysitting these families for the rest of high school.
Now, you don't have any other people working with you, any other girls?
So with the situation with Dine and Drops, I have other helpers that would be the same age as me, or a little bit younger or a little bit older. Those would be some of my close friends, but it's not chosen based on who my friends are. It's chosen on how well they work with kids.
Okay.
So by no means is there any favoritism. It's based on who has the most experience. Some of them have a lot of experience with special needs kids, or just they babysit other times on the weekends. So I make sure that they're thoroughly vetted to, provide the best care and opportunity to our children that we work with.
So what about your parents in the beginning? How involved were they then, and then how involved are they now?
So I would say that my parents have always played, the mentor role. They really, saw me through all of this. My dad helped figure out, what I would need to put on my website, and, figured out the best way to market to, different types of parents, because there are a plethora of different types of parents. They've really just been there for me to bounce ideas off of. They graciously lend me their house when I have Dine and Drops. They leave the house, they go out to dinner, and I take care of the kids. But they really have been there as more of a supportive role, not really interfering in my business, because I, contract my own jobs, but really just a sounding board of all my ideas. This should work, this shouldn't, really the advising kind of role. I would say my parents have always been.
What about your other classmates, maybe some of your good friends, and then your school advisors? What do they think?
My classmates think I'm kind of crazy, that I spend so much time around all of these kids, since I do work for about 50 families in St. Louis. They wonder how I juggle all of this stuff collectively, because there is a lot of different roles that I play, not only at my school, but also in my babysitting service, while also having a social life, of course, because I also do stuff outside of, work. But they've kind of let me, do my own thing, and they understand, if I have to miss something, like a birthday party or something like that, they understand that, work gets busy sometimes, and I feel like that's a really good life lesson that my friends have kind of helped instill on me, that sometimes work gets in the way of, your fun or your social time.
But what's really good is that they understand.
There have been some times where it's been a little iffy, where they maybe get a little mad. Why are you missing my birthday party for this? Is there any way you could move things around? But sometimes your schedule is not as flexible as you wish it would be.
So what about your advisors at school?
Yeah.
What do they think?
So the way Viz works is we have a single teacher advisor every single year, and that changes every single year. So I've had 4 different high school advisors, and those would all be teachers of mine. And then I have the same counselor for all my 4 years. So my counselor has been so helpful, especially with the college process, but also, again, being another sounding board, because I have a lot of ideas, but I'm not sure always how to deliver them. So she's been really helpful in that process. But all of my teachers have really, again, just served as, advice or, sounding boards, like I said, ways for me to say, maybe this is a good idea, but are you sure I have enough resources to act on it? Or do you know a better way to be doing this? This is consuming a lot of my time. I want to make sure I'm being as, successful as possible with the time that I can devote to babysitting. Babysitting really hasn't come in the way of my academics. I haven't noticed a change, I guess you could say, but I don't know if there really would be a change since I've been working since 4th grade. I don't know if there would be a real way to compare that, but my teachers are very understanding. Some nights are longer when I'm babysitting, and I may not, get the assignment done, but I always try to, if I know I'm going to be out late babysitting or something, I try to ask for my assignments early so I can get them done before they're due. So that they've really just been helpful in this whole process. Nothing that would have held me up or, kept me from where I am today.
How did your parents feel, as you're growing this, and really now it's a full-fledged business, so to speak?
I think it's really interesting how they've really evolved. I wasn't sure when we started the Dine and Drops, how long I was going to be able to have them tolerate all of this, because it is 10 to 30 kids screaming around in their house. There were multiple times where I thought they were going to maybe, not have us, shut the whole thing down because one kid took his race car and scuffed it into a wall. There were so many times where I just was like, oh my gosh, this may be the end. But really, all in all, they've just been so supportive. They've been more supportive as I've had to deal with more hiccups, with some parents being, upset about one thing or another. They've really been the supportive people that, I'm really grateful that they are. I really couldn't do any of this without them, because if I didn't have a house, we wouldn't be doing Dine and Drops.
That's true. I wondered where you did it. So now you talk about the parents with hiccups. You must have learned early how to be diplomatic, and even maybe a little use some psychology.
Yes, there's definitely, you have to always remember that, I'm not a parent. I've never been a parent, so that connection between the parent and child, I've never felt that. So I always have to keep that in mind when a parent is upset, that they're just looking out for the best thing for their child, because without keeping that in mind, I could get in over my head or say something that, I would regret, because I'm not familiar with that connection.
Now, with your nanny service, which is pretty amazing too, does it include multiple days if the parents are out of town? And do you ever accompany a family?
So it's never really shaken out where I've gone on a vacation before. It has been talked about, definitely, but with the price of airfare and all of that stuff, it normally doesn't shake out in the way I wish it would, because that would be a unique opportunity. The thing is more for we have a week-long spring break at Visitation. We have a week-long Thanksgiving break. We're off for the whole week. We have a 3-week-long Christmas break. So these are all large extended periods of time where the kids are not in school. And so that's really where I step in. So I'll take them for, from 8 to 5 or 9 to 3 or whatever the hours the parents choose. Or, I'll work for 1 or 2 families in the summer. So this past summer I worked for a family with 6 kids. That was really an experience that I'm very, very, very grateful for. I love the family. They just moved away, so I had to go say goodbye to them as they moved to from St. Louis, Missouri to Omaha, Nebraska. But I was really grateful for the opportunity that I was able to be with them for almost 3 whole months this summer, almost 12 hours every day.
We were talking earlier, you mentioned that sometimes parents are a little leery, like if taking you out for a long time or staying overnight, is because they don't think you have as much experience as a 20-year-old.
Right.
Somebody that's in college. So how are you overcoming that?
The best way that I can overcome it is kind of to like prove them wrong, work in the given time that I'm given, if it's even just during the day for a few hours, and really, exceed their expectations, prove to them that I am, the type of person that could handle that kind of responsibility. And I think to quite a few families, I have, exceeded their expectations more than once. And, been given the opportunities to, watch the kids overnight while they're out of town.
All right. So now this dine and drop, we just mentioned throwing those out. How did you come up with the idea? I've never heard of anybody doing this.
Yeah. So I used to, my family and I used to belong to a country club, and they have a program called Dine and Drop. And I still have never been to it. Obviously, I'm too old to attend now. But I had heard of it when I was younger, and I to this day have no idea what they do. I just thought, that's a clever name, and it's not trademarked.
Oh,
so let's go ahead and use it for something, that could be beneficial to me. So what was consistently happening on multiple occasions when I was younger was that I'd be asked to babysit the same night by like 3 or 4 different parents. And I just couldn't accommodate them. So I obviously chose whoever texted me or called me or asked me first. But I thought, what a great way to kind of, get everyone together and, foster some foster some relationships, throughout the St. Louis area, have some kids meet each other that would have never met each other in the first place, and make some money off of it, because working with multiple families does come with that bonus price tag. So I really love doing them. I most certainly don't do it for the money, but it is heartwarming when I get to see 2 people, that are 2 kids that are hanging out together, who don't go to the same school, maybe aren't the exact same age, who really, they didn't think they'd have anything in common, but they're playing together, outside, or they're playing a board game, or they're downstairs having a dance party together. It is really heartfelt. Yeah.
What exactly do you do? Now you said you've got other girls working with you.
We actually also have boy helpers,
okay,
which is really unique, because you don't find that in a lot of places. And I did have some skeptical parents at first, and that just in general, the younger boys that we watch really respond well to the discipline from the high school boys that I have help. So it really that's a unique kind of off topic to your question, but it is something I want to point out, is that I've been really impressed by the way that the boys have handled different situations. At the Dine and Drops, we kind of break it down. We've had obviously quite a few years to kind of tinker and tweak with, the best way to do stuff. We take parent feedback all the time through polls and surveys. We also just take actual feedback that they'll just let me know something directly. But we give them an option to be anonymous, obviously, also.
Right.
So from 6 to 6:45, the whole thing goes from 6 to 10. You can drop off and pick up any time between then. So you don't have to get there at 6. Some families don't come till 7:30, just because that's the way their schedule works. But that's the whole window of time that they can come and leave. So from 6 to 6:45, we kind of welcome everybody in. And the kids have free roam. Obviously, they're always supervised. But they have free roam of the first floor and the basement. So in the basement, we have an Xbox. So most likely they're playing Fortnite. And, we have girls upstairs doing board games, or I'll paint their nails, or we'll do some kind of craft, or maybe some new movie will be on. A few weeks ago, the Kids' Choice Awards on Nickelodeon was on, so they wanted to watch that. We're pretty flexible on, that kind of time. That's really the flexible time. From 6:45 to about 7:30 is when we'll take them outside. Obviously, living in St. Louis, we can't take them outside year round.
Right.
We have a trampoline. That's of course used with the parents' permission that they consent to the kids being on the trampoline. We play some soccer. We throw the football around. It's a really good time to get all of their energy out, because what we found is that, one, obviously we have to deal with the sun. We don't want them to be out at dark, especially with mosquitoes in St. Louis. We've really found that because they eat dinner sometimes right before they come over, or in the car on the way over, we found that at about 6:45 is when all of that food is metabolized and they have a lot of energy. So that's when we go ahead and take them outside. They come back in and we eat a snack. That snack can consist of anything from, normally we do goldfish, fruit snacks, Capri Sun. We do give them the option, obviously, since we have a lot of kids coming from Visitation Academy, and since we're a Catholic school, we do say a little prayer before we eat, but no kids by any means are required to do that. It's just something that a lot of the kids do anyway, so we incorporated that into our Dine and Drop. And then after snack, we go ahead downstairs and we go watch a little bit of a movie. We never get all the way through the movie. And then after that, they come upstairs. They have a little bit of a dessert, so either Oreos or a cookie or something sugary. And then we distribute glow sticks for their necks or for their wrists for their bracelets. And then we turn the lights dimmer downstairs. We turn on some glow lights, and they have a glow in the dark dance party. We move the couch out of the way. There's just this big dance floor for them, and they go nuts. They love it. And the reason that we do that, again, is their food, again, has just made them really hyper. When they go to get picked up by the parents, so the parents start coming in during the dance party to pick up their kids, they almost always sleep in the car on the way home because they're so tired. No matter what age, I've seen fourth graders, I've seen, obviously, kindergartners and stuff, they will fall asleep in the car because, one, it's around 10 o'clock, and two, they've just tuckered themselves out from all of the fun that we've been doing. So, I really feel like we figured out the best way to handle it with all different kids of all different ages, because it is a very wide range of kids. So we have them once a month, twice a month in December, one during the day and one at night. So one at night to accommodate holiday parties for corporate or for whatever work setting, and then one during the day. It's our only one during the day throughout the year. It's to get that holiday shopping done.
As a senior in high school,
Mm-hmm.
when I read what you said you do, and how do you juggle your coursework and all your school activities and applying for college, and then spending time with family and social time with your friends, how does that work out?
Necessity that I keep myself organized. So if I was not organized, I don't think I could do what I'm doing. But I have my wonderful planner, and I also have a whiteboard at home that I keep everything on. I have an agenda, and then I also have a calendar that syncs with my phone and my computer. So everything is everywhere. It really keeps me organized to, schedule different kinds of things. No, I can't do this, because that's the great thing about babysitting is it's not a set shift. I make my own schedule. If I feel like I'm too busy, I say no. No, I can't, but let me see if I can find another babysitter for you. But it is, a delicate balance. Sometimes I really have not overbooked myself. I've probably overbooked myself, but I've never double booked myself. So that is the great thing about staying organized, is I know when I'm free and I know when I'm not, but I don't know. I think I overcommitted myself a little bit too much this summer with everything going on. I worked probably a 10 to 12 hour day with my nannying family, and then I would go eat a quick dinner and then go babysit another family at night. So those were some of the days. So sometimes I overcommit myself, but I do try to kind of, reason with myself, what can I take and what can't I take? It's more, you have to figure out how much time am I going to devote to this calc assignment, or how much, time is it going to take me to finish this English assignment, and how do I mix that with my babysitting schedule and my mentorship schedule and all that stuff. So it's a very delicate balance.
And then you have all these things at school.
Yeah.
You must have meetings. I mean, the meetings, I'm sure, aren't during the school day. They're at night.
So for emerging media, I've actually been at school since 6:45 a.m. So class starts at 8, but I was here early. Wednesdays and Thursdays we have emerging media, which is an hour-long class before school starts. I run all of those meetings or classes. Although I'm not the teacher, we do have a moderator, but I am the one up at the board, directing what we're going to talk about each day. So I do that twice a week in the morning, and then yearbook is twice a week, once during the school day in a free time that's delegated to students, and then another time Wednesdays after school. So Wednesdays I'm here from about 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay, so how did you become so organized?
Like I said earlier, it's a necessity. If I did not keep myself this organized, things would, and I have tried not to use my whiteboard and I forget things. It's just something that, has to happen. Sometimes because I get myself organized for the week on Sundays, I update my whiteboard, I update my agenda, I update my planner, I update my calendar on Sundays. Sometimes I get really frustrated and I'm like, I don't understand why I'm doing this. And I just have to keep reminding myself, this is what I've committed to, and I have to remember that I've committed to everything because I do not have the best memory. So I really do try to make sure that I am as organized as I can be. And sometimes that's a little daunting to my friends. They think I'm, controlling or, something along those lines. But really, I just have a lot going on and I need to stay organized. So that has been a challenge, but something that I've had to have overcome.
Okay, so how did you get your essays done for college?
So I began, that we use a program called the Common Application. So I fill out all of my, where did my parents go to school and what classes am I taking and what are my test scores and all of that stuff. I fill it out one time as opposed to 8 times. I'm applying to 8 schools. For each school, I would go into their little section and find out what I needed to write. And so I started a Word document. I was like, it's for this school, this essay, here's the prompt, here's how many words. And I had all those documents open on my computer and I just crank it out, I'd print it, and then I would take it to our writing center, which we have right here at school. And one of our English teachers would read through it, make corrections, then I'd take it back, I'd make more corrections. And, it really helped. I could not do it without them. They catch all my mistakes because sometimes I'm not the best typist, and it is really helpful. But I literally would not have been able to turn in all of my applications as soon as I did without their help because all my applications were submitted by October 12th.
You've got a mentor outside your
Yeah.
parents. So when did you decide to do that? And did you have others before that mentor?
Yes. So after I attended the Early to Rise conference at a space called Rise Collaborative, they're located in one location in St. Louis and one location in Denver that just opened. They concluded at the end of the 4-hour program that they were starting a mentorship program. And I thought, well, that could be a good opportunity for me. I'm not sure what I would talk to a mentor about, but I would be happy to have that contact. And at the time, I had just started junior year. I really thought that maybe I wanted to go into business, but most likely I wanted to go into psychology. But I was connected with Denise because she is a licensed life coach, and she does a little bit more than that, but that is her technical title. So we were matched together because, again, I was interested in psychology and life coaching. Those share a lot of commonalities. She was really helpful in, setting up a finance sheet for my, babysitting and really to track what I'm earning and create projections for my fiscal year. She also helped me set up my babysitting site. I could not have done that without her. She gave me a lot of feedback, a lot of comments. You need to change this, or I really like this. It's really been a good launching point. And so I attended the Early to Rise conference again this year, this time going in as a senior, and I was on the advisory board, so I kind of helped plan it. I led a talk at one of the lecture times. I once again applied for the mentorship program. So this year, and I met with her last night for the second time, I am partnered with Kristen Bond, who works at American Family Insurance. So that's more on the business side because this time, as I'm more clear on the path that I want to pursue in college, I, put down that I'm interested in finance and marketing, which is what I'm hoping to study in college.
What is Rise Collaborative, and how did you find out about it?
Rise Collaborative is a space for a bunch of different women who don't necessarily have a set office to come in and pay a monthly membership fee to work in their space. More private offices, like my mentor Kristen has her own private office, but then there's also this large space that hosts many different events, or sometimes I go there just to do my homework, to just sit at a nice quiet table. There's always some nice music playing. And then they also have classrooms. So it's a really unique space. It gives women a unique, opportunity to meet with other women that they, again, just like my dining drops, would have never met had it not been for this. So I found out about them because going into my junior year, Rise was starting to do the Early to Rise program for high school students. And our counselors just kind of sent out an email in the middle of summer. I read it and I jumped on the idea. I thought, this is something unique. I don't feel like I'm doing enough extracurricularly. And, I need to pursue this opportunity. And I really wasn't sure what I was getting into, but I am really glad that I did it because I was able to meet a bunch of different women with a bunch of different jobs, some jobs that I really hadn't even considered existed. And then they also obviously touched on what it's like to be a woman in the workplace, which was also very informative because I know that in business it is generally very male-driven and not very female-driven. I'm working on, potentially doing a full week program for Christmas break because I do get a lot of families that want me to work with their kids full day. So I am kind of trying to navigate that because I do want to provide that full day care, but I'm not sure I can do a full day with about 20 kids. I'm not sure, me and a few helpers. But that would, ease some of the tension over holiday break because unlike summer where you can send your kids to an art camp or a drama camp or a sports camp, those options are much more limited over a holiday, break. Additionally, I want to do potentially a 1 to 2 week program in the summer. Would be nannying a family most likely, crossing my fingers that I get to do that again. But also creating something where all of the kids can be together for 1 to 2 weeks. With college applications and everything that I've had to do, it's kind of been on the back burner of things because there is a lot going on right now.
Right. Well, I can understand that. Where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, I think the best way to contact me, especially if you live in St. Louis, would be on LinkedIn. You can just search my name, Grace Elsner, and I, will be more than happy to get in touch with you through there. And then maybe later on, we can converse over email or something like that.
Right.
But LinkedIn is a great thing. I love it. I've been on it for almost a year. It's a nice break from the consistent social media pressures that a lot of high school girls see on other sites.
What advice would you say give to a Gen Z high school girl that hasn't started a business yet and she wants to? And then somebody like yourself who's already been started and they're going to go beyond. So how would you handle the two of them?
Okay. So I think for the first thing, someone that wants to start a business but, maybe isn't sure, contact someone that you really trust that's an adult and, get their feedback on it and say, do you think, I'm capable of starting this? And if so, would you be willing to provide some, starter feedback? So to make those connections really early on with either a parent or a teacher or an administrator. I'm very close to my administration here at the school, so they give me a lot of feedback all the time. But I would just say, gather support from your community. So like I just said, your teachers, your parents, especially your friends, because if your friends really aren't on board, then, that's something that should change because your friends should be, the ones that are supporting you. So are they really your friends if they're not supporting your business endeavors? There's just no way to even describe how, empowering it is to know that your friends and your family are on your side in your business. Have a plan. So have, a marketing plan, for are you going to be on social media? How are you going to grow this? Because it's great to say, I want to do this, but you also have to know, how am I going to do this? Who am I going to market it to? And, what's the most effective way to do all of this? in all of, this fast-paced world that we're moving in with all of this technology, you cannot be slow. You have to do everything quickly. So if you don't have a plan, you're going to get ahead of yourself. And that's how ideas don't get done. To someone that is, maybe, already has a business, just reach out and use your business to make connections to other businesses. Form those early on alliances. I think that's so, so important, because while I'm not necessarily pursuing, a degree in education or something like that where I would be around kids, making these connections with these parents who have such a variety of jobs and, careers has been really helpful, because one of the parents that I work with, he works in data analytics. And when I needed something, some of our focus groups analyzed for our student website, he was right there and he was ready to help. So making those connections with your customers and kind of seeing the commonalities that lie between the two of you, that's not just your business, I think that's so important that you establish those.
Grace, thank you so much. I'm really glad I found you on LinkedIn.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I think it's great what you're doing, how you're growing it, and, what you might do over Christmas, but just how you've had the tenacity and just to keep going and just roll with it. So that's why, I think it's so great, and how you just kept going and you found mentors.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.